My name is Mark Fulton, and I was never the jealous type. Not the kind of man to snoop through a phone, question a late meeting, or ask why a text message came in at midnight. I believed in trust, not the romantic kind that poets scribble about, but the grounded kind you build through 2 decades of marriage, mortgage payments, missed vacations, and burned dinners. I believed in it because it made life simpler. And to be honest, I thought we were solid. My wife, Lauren, was my best friend for most of those years. We weren't flashy. We weren't the couple that posted matching vacation selfies or had his and her bathrobes. But we had rhythm. I made coffee, she walked the dog. She handled the kids' schedules, I handled the broken sink. Our version of love didn't sparkle. It just worked. Until the bracelet. It was a Saturday in early April, one of those first warm days that tricks you into thinking spring is here to stay. I was on the ladder, fixing the loose gutter above the garage that had been nagging at me since winter. Lauren had gone out to get groceries, or so she said. I dropped my wrench, climbed down to retrieve it, and noticed her car door slightly ajar. Lauren was never careless with her car. Not her precious blue Accord. The leather interior still looked brand new even though the thing had over 120,000 miles on it. She babied the car more than our teenage son. Curious, I opened the passenger door to push it shut, and that's when I saw it. A silver bracelet. Delicate, thin chain. A small heart charm hanging from the center. Not the sort of thing Lauren wore. She liked minimal jewelry, a gold watch, her wedding ring, and the occasional pair of stud earrings. This bracelet was too much. Too polished. Too young. I picked it up, turned it over in my fingers, and felt something shift in my chest. Not panic. Not even suspicion. Just a quiet confusion that settled in the pit of my stomach like wet cement. When she came home an hour later, carrying 2 brown paper bags and humming to herself, I asked casually, "Hey, Lau, you dropped something in the car?" She blinked at me, then shook her head. "No, why?" "Found a bracelet." Passenger side. Her eyes flickered just for a second before she put the bags down. "Oh, that must be Michelle's. From work. She got in the other day when we went to lunch." "Right," I said. And I didn't say another word. Just nodded, helped her unload the groceries, and kept my face calm. Because that's what I do. I don't accuse. I don't pry. I observe. But something inside me knew. I didn't know what I knew, not exactly. But I knew things weren't lining up. Michelle didn't live nearby. Lauren hadn't mentioned lunch. And something about the way she said it, fast, clipped, almost rehearsed, rubbed me raw. That night, I sat on the back porch with a beer, listening to the wind rustle through the trees and our dog snore on the step beside me. My hands were still dirty from the gutter job, but I didn't care. I just kept thinking about the bracelet. I'd spent 20 years trusting Lauren, and she'd never given me a reason not to. But one small piece of silver had managed to crack something open. And once the crack appears, the water finds a way in. The thing about suspicion is, once it finds a place to live, it starts redecorating. By Sunday morning, I couldn't stop noticing things I would have ignored the week before. The subtle shift in Lauren's perfume. The sudden interest in keeping her phone face down on the kitchen counter. The way she smiled at her texts but never said who they were from. I didn't say anything. I just logged it. Mental sticky notes, one after the other. I still made her coffee. She still walked the dog. We still kissed each other goodbye. But a piece of me had started stepping back, like watching our marriage from the outside. I spent the next few days paying attention to the little moments that used to feel automatic. I noticed she got a new blouse. Not her style, too form-fitting. I noticed her nails were done on a Thursday. She usually did them on Saturdays when the house was quiet. And then came Friday night. "Girls' night," she said, breezing through the door in heels I hadn't seen since our anniversary 3 years ago. Hair curled, lipstick a touch too bold for casual dinner. "Who's going?" I asked. "Same crew. Michelle, Tanya, a few of the nurses. We might catch a movie afterward. Don't wait up." I smiled. Said, "Have fun." And I meant it. I wanted her to have fun. I just wanted it to be real. An hour later, I texted Michelle. Not accusatory. Just casual. "Hey Michelle, hope you'll have a great night. Tell Lauren not to have too many margaritas like last time, lol." She replied, "Huh? I'm not out tonight. Home with the flu." That was the moment. That was the exact moment everything changed. I stared at the message, read it twice, then locked my phone. I didn't text back. Didn't call. I sat in my armchair, stared at the muted TV, and listened to the grandfather clock tick behind me. The sound felt heavier than usual. I waited until 11:30. Then I drove. I knew a few of Lauren's usual spots, and I knew the kind of places you wouldn't take a group of nurses. I checked 3 restaurants before I spotted her car in the back lot of a bar on the edge of town. The kind of bar that has live music on Fridays and rooms upstairs if you want to avoid the drive home. Her car was there. I didn't go inside. I just sat across the street, lights off, engine running. Waited. She came out at 1:12 a.m., arm in arm with a man I didn't recognize. Tall, confident, younger than me. She kissed him before they got into the car. A long kiss. The kind she used to save for me. That night, I didn't sleep. I made coffee at 4:30 just to feel normal. Fed the dog. Read a few emails. When she walked in the door around 6, she looked exhausted. We ended up crashing at Tanya's, she said, hanging her purse up. Late night. Everything okay? I asked. Yeah, why? I shrugged. Just asking. She smiled, kissed my cheek, and went to shower. I sat at the table and stared at her untouched coffee cup, the steam slowly fading away. And right then, I made a quiet decision. I would find out the truth, but I wouldn't confront her. Not yet. Because now it wasn't about jealousy. It wasn't even about heartbreak. It was about knowing exactly what kind of person had been lying next to me every night. And when the time came, I wanted the full picture. A few years back, I would have told you secrets don't last in a marriage. That honesty always finds a way through. I believed that. But secrets? They don't shout. They whisper. And Lauren had gotten good at whispering. I didn't call her out that morning. Didn't ask who the man was. Didn't even let on that I had followed her. Instead, I played it quiet. Observant. Like a man taking inventory of the world he thought he knew. That Monday, while she was at work, I opened a new email account. One with no connection to my name. I started researching private investigators in the area. I figured if I was going to peel back the curtain, I needed help from someone who knew how to work in the shadows. I found a guy named Devin Marks, ex-cop turned PI, specializing in domestic cases. His reviews said he was discreet, thorough, and most importantly, fast. We met in the back booth of a diner off Route 27. He showed up in jeans and a windbreaker, holding a folder and a plain black coffee. I liked him instantly. He didn't ask for drama. Just facts. You think she's stepping out? He asked, straight to the point. I don't want to think it. I want to know it. Devin nodded. You got a recent photo? License plate. I handed him both. A photo from our last family cookout and a scribbled note with her car details. What do you want? Pictures? Video? Logs? Whatever confirms it, I said. I need the truth. Not guesses. You'll get it, he replied, and we shook hands. That week, I went about life as usual. Took the dog for his walks, went to work, made dinner when it was my turn. Lauren didn't act much different either. Maybe a little more chipper. Maybe a little too eager to check her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. Friday rolled around again. Girls' night again. Same smile, same red lipstick. I kissed her on the cheek and said, drive safe. She paused for a second like she heard something in my voice. But then she smiled and left. I didn't follow her this time. Devin did. Saturday morning, my inbox had 3 photos. Lauren. Same guy. Holding hands at a lounge across town. Another of them leaving together. And the last one? Them walking into a hotel. I stared at those photos until my coffee went cold. She had names for all the places she claimed to be. Friends she said she was with. Excuses I never questioned. And yet, there she was. With him. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I saved the pictures. Sent Devin a thank you and a second payment. Then I sat in the garage for over an hour just listening to the ticking of the old wall clock. That night, Lauren came home around noon claiming they got brunch after a long night. She smelled like hotel shampoo and someone else's cologne. I hugged her. Told her I hoped she had fun. Because part of me needed to know how long she'd keep lying. And another part of me? It had already started moving on. There's a particular kind of ache that comes with knowing something someone else thinks they're hiding. A slow, heavy thing that doesn't scream. It just settles in your bones and stays a while. The pictures from Devin weren't blurry. They weren't open to interpretation. And they sure as hell weren't innocent. Lauren had crossed a line and I had the time-stamped proof to prove it. She just didn't know that I knew. That made every conversation surreal. Monday night, we ate spaghetti together. She told me about a new nurse who kept messing up the 4 lines. I nodded. Told her about the software update at work. We washed the dishes together. She kissed me goodnight. And the whole time I kept thinking you were in a hotel with another man less than 48 hours ago. But I didn't say a word. Not yet. I needed to understand why. I wasn't looking for excuses. I wasn't looking to patch things up. I just needed to know how far the rot had spread. So I asked Devin to dig deeper. Who was the guy? What did he do? Was this a fling or something more permanent? 2 days later, Devin sent a name. Jared Spencer. Divorced. Mid-30s. Works in construction. Lives on the other side of town. Apparently, he and Lauren met at the gym she never told me she joined. The one she supposedly went to on Tuesday and Thursday nights. I remember sitting at my desk, staring at that name. Jared. That was the name she let call her at 2 a.m. when she thought I was asleep and her phone was on silent. Devin had pulled a few call records, too. There were dozens. Most of them late at night. The affair wasn't just physical. It was emotional. It had weight. And that's when I found the phone. She left her purse on the kitchen chair while she took a shower. Normally, I wouldn't go near it. But that night, something pulled me to it. Like I needed to see just one more piece of it for myself. I didn't go for her main phone. I went for the lining of her purse. And tucked inside a side zipper I didn't even know existed was a second phone. A burner. It was still on. No password. Just swipes and taps. The texts were all there. Dozens of them. From Jared. Sent while I was downstairs watching the game or folding laundry. Can't wait to see you. Last night was amazing. He still doesn't know, does he? No, Jared. He didn't. Not until now. I didn't read them all. Just enough to feel like something inside me cracked clean down the middle. It was one thing to suspect. Another to see it raw and spelled out. I took pictures of the messages. Emailed them to myself. Then I put the phone back exactly where I found it. When she got out of the shower, wrapped in the same robe she wore on our honeymoon, she smiled like nothing was wrong. I smiled back. Told her I was heading to bed early. Kissed her forehead. But inside I was done pretending. The next morning I called a lawyer. The hardest part wasn't finding out. It wasn't the photos or the texts or even that second phone that made my stomach twist. It was waking up next to her the next morning knowing I was leaving. I looked at her sleeping beside me, peaceful, tangled in the sheets like nothing in the world could hurt her. And maybe nothing had. Maybe it was me carrying all the weight while she floated along unbothered. The betrayal, for her, was something she could set aside and still sleep like a baby. Me? I lay awake every night, wondering how she could look me in the eyes and smile like we were still us. But I wasn't planning a scene. I was planning an exit. The call with the lawyer, James Whitmore, was short. I gave him the broad strokes: 20-year marriage, no recent major purchases, no minor children, and no shared business interests. I didn't tell him the full emotional mess of it. Just the essentials. Do you have evidence of infidelity? He asked. I do. Photos, call logs, texts. The whole package. In our state, divorce is no fault by default, but evidence can still influence asset division. If you want to pursue this discreetly, I can draft the papers and keep them sealed until you're ready. I want that, I said. And I want it clean. He paused. Do you want to confront her before she gets served? Or blindside her? I thought about that. I want to be calm, I said. Controlled. I want her to remember it that way. Not screaming or crying. Just clear. Understood, he said. I'll have the papers ready in a week. In the meantime, I lived like I always had. Quiet. Predictable. But in my head, I was going over every detail. Planning what I'd say when the moment came. Practicing the tone. Not cold. Not angry. Just firm. Like a man who'd already made peace with the storm. Lauren didn't suspect a thing. She kissed me goodbye before work. Sent smiley emojis throughout the day. Asked if I wanted Chinese or pizza on Friday. I smiled and answered like nothing had changed. But everything had. I stopped checking her phone. I didn't need to anymore. I stopped wondering where she went on Thursday nights. I already knew. I didn't even feel jealous of Jared. That emotion had dried up. What I felt was more dangerous: clarity. The house started to feel like a shell. Every picture on the wall felt like a prop in a life I was no longer part of. I started packing small things. A box of keepsakes. My dad's old watch. The letters from my mom I'd kept since college. Quiet items. The kind you don't explain. On Wednesday, I took the day off work and opened a new bank account. Transferred my direct deposit. Not to hide money, just to be ready. And on Friday night, while Lauren was out with Tanya, I went to the apartment I'd found 2 towns over. 1 bedroom. Clean. Unfurnished. I paid the deposit and picked up the key. That night, when she came home smelling like a different man's cologne, I kissed her goodnight. She curled into my side like everything was still normal. But it wasn't. I had one more weekend to get through. Then the calm would end. The day I chose to confront Lauren started like any other. Coffee. A quick walk with the dog. She was humming in the kitchen, scrolling on her phone like she always did, likely texting him. But I didn't care anymore. I was past anger. I'd made a dinner reservation at a quiet little Italian place we used to go to before life got too busy. The kind of place where the lights were dim, the music soft, and the booths gave you privacy without hiding you from the world. I told her it was a surprise. She lit up. "Are we celebrating something?" "In a way," I said, and I meant it. She took longer than usual to get ready. Came down in the navy dress I'd always liked on her. The one she used to save for our anniversaries. I wondered if she remembered that or if it was just coincidence. Either way, she looked beautiful, and I felt nothing. At the restaurant, she laughed more than usual, touched my hand a lot, told me stories I half listened to. I watched her carefully, the way you study something you used to love but know you have to let go. We were halfway through dessert when I finally said, "Can I ask you something?" "Of course," she said, still smiling. "Are you happy?" She paused, fork hovering. "Right now?" "No. In general. With us." She laughed, but it was thinner now. "Why? You think something's wrong?" "I think you've been seeing someone else," I said. The smile disappeared. Her face went pale, like all the blood had drained from it in a single breath. "Mark, don't lie," I said quietly, calmly. "Not now." She looked down at her plate. "How long have you known?" "Long enough to make peace with it." Her eyes were wet. She didn't try to deny it. Didn't reach across the table. Just sat there like a child caught red-handed. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she said. The classic line. "I'm not here for an explanation," I replied. "I just wanted to give you the respect of hearing it from me, face to face. I've already filed. You'll be served next week." She stared at me, speechless. "You're ending this? Just like that?" "You ended it," I said. "I'm just acknowledging the facts." She wiped at her eyes, but the tears weren't falling yet. She was still trying to hold on to something. Maybe dignity. Maybe denial. "I loved you," she whispered. "I know," I said. "And for a long time, I loved you too." The check came. I paid without looking at it. As we stood, she tried to take my hand. I let her. For a moment. One last echo of what we used to be. In the parking lot, we stood under the yellow glow of a street lamp. "I don't know what to say," she said. "You don't have to say anything," I replied. "Just know that I know, and that I'm done." Then I walked away, got into my car, and didn't look back. She stood there watching me drive off. Alone, just like I'd felt for months. It's funny how silence can echo louder than words. After that dinner, the silence filled every corner of the house. Not angry silence. Not the kind where people slam doors or sleep facing opposite walls. This was different. This was absence made physical. A gap in the air. A sense that something had already left the room, even when we were both in it. Lauren tried to pretend. The next morning, she brewed my coffee like always. Set it down at the table like nothing had changed. I didn't touch it. "I can explain everything," she said quietly. "I didn't ask for an explanation," I replied, without looking up from the newspaper. "And I still don't want one." That's when she stopped pretending. I moved out 2 days later. Took the dog, my clothes, and the few sentimental things I'd already packed. The apartment wasn't much, but it was mine. Clean walls. No echoes. No lies baked into the drywall. My lawyer served her the papers the following Monday. I didn't hear from her for 4 days. Then came the text. "Can we talk? Just once?" I didn't respond. Instead, I told James to proceed with the terms as we discussed. No contest, no alimony. I wasn't interested in punishment, just peace. But the fallout didn't stop with Lauren. Word got around. Michelle called me furious. "She used me as a cover, Mark." I had no idea. "I know," I said. "It's not your fault." My sister called too. She always liked Lauren. Defended her even when I didn't. But after I told her what happened, she was quiet. "You didn't deserve that," she said. "None of it." Even Jared reached out. I guess he got spooked when things got real. He left a voicemail, mumbled apology, some weak line about not knowing she was married. I deleted it halfway through. Lauren showed up at my door one evening. I didn't answer. Just watched from the window as she stood there with that same stunned look she wore the night I walked away. She left after 10 minutes. Didn't come back. I didn't cry. Not once. The tears had come and gone in private back when I still hoped I was wrong. Now I was just rebuilding. One routine at a time. One quiet morning after another. You learn a lot about yourself in the quiet. The apartment was small, no frills. Just a couch, a table, and a bed that didn't creak with history. I found comfort in its blankness. No anniversary photos on the walls, no perfume lingering in the air. Just space. And space, it turns out, is good for healing. I started running again. Nothing fancy, just loops around the block, trying to get my heart rate back to something human. The dog adjusted quickly. He never did like silence. Always by my side as if he knew I needed the company more than I let on. I didn't tell many people where I went. The ones who mattered knew. The ones who didn't? They'd find out when the Christmas cards stopped coming. Lauren reached out again. A long email this time. The kind that tries to explain, apologize, unravel. I read the first few lines and closed it. Not out of spite. Out of mercy for both of us. I didn't need her reasons anymore. James kept me updated. No resistance on her end. She signed. No contest. No argument. Just a clean split and silence. Work helped. My coworkers didn't pry and I didn't offer. I got good at compartmentalizing. Emails, meetings, reports. Then I'd go home and do nothing for a while. Just sit. Sometimes with music. Sometimes with nothing but the hum of the fridge. The nights were the hardest. Not because I missed her, but because I missed the idea of her. The comfort. The routine. The person I thought I'd built my life with. It's strange grieving someone who's still alive. I saw Jared once. At a gas station of all places. He didn't see me. Just filled up his truck, texting someone on his phone. I watched him for a moment and realized I felt nothing. No hate. No envy. No rage. Just nothing. And that was the turning point. Because when the anger leaves, what you're left with is clarity. I started painting again. Badly. But it helped. I picked up books I hadn't touched in years. Cooked meals that weren't just frozen pizza. I even went to a museum by myself one weekend. Didn't tell anyone. Just went. Sat on a bench and looked at things people made when they were broken and healing. And slowly, I started to feel like myself again. Not the version I was when I was married. Not the one I was before that either. Someone new. Someone a little more weathered. A little quieter. But stronger. Sometimes we don't get closure in words. Sometimes we get it in silence. It was a Sunday morning when she showed up again. I had just poured my second cup of coffee, the dog asleep at my feet, and some Miles Davis humming low in the background. The knock was soft. Not urgent. The kind that asks rather than demands. I knew it was her. Lauren stood in the hallway, hair pulled back, face bare. Not the woman who used to dress up for him. Not the woman who smiled through her secrets. This was someone else entirely. "Can I come in?" she asked. I didn't say yes. I just stepped aside. She didn't sit. Just looked around the apartment slowly like she was seeing the aftermath of something she'd only read about. Her hands trembled a bit as she spoke. "I don't know what I expected," she said. "I guess I just needed to see you." I said nothing. She took a deep breath. "I've been going to therapy. Trying to figure out what I did. Why I did it. I was stupid. I know that. But it wasn't because I didn't love you." "Don't do that," I said calmly. "Don't rewrite it. You loved the comfort. Not me." She blinked hard. Swallowed. "Maybe you're right. But it doesn't change the fact that I still care about you." I nodded slowly. "I believe you. But that's not the same as what we had. And it's sure not enough to start over." "I know," she whispered. "I just wanted to say it. Out loud. In case it meant anything." "It means I can close the door without wondering," I said. "So yeah. It meant something." We stood in silence for a few more seconds. "I miss the way things used to be," she said finally. "So do I replied. "But that version of us doesn't exist anymore. It died the minute you let someone else have what was mine." She winced like I'd hit her. But I didn't raise my voice. Didn't move. Just stood there, grounded in a peace that took months to build. "I won't come back again," she said. "I know," I said. She turned, paused at the door. "I hope you find someone who sees you for the man you are." "I already did," I said quietly. "Me." And then she was gone. They say healing isn't linear. I've found that to be true. Some mornings I still wake up expecting to smell her coffee. Some nights I catch myself reaching for a memory that doesn't belong to me anymore. But most days I breathe easier. Deeper. Like someone who finally stepped out from under a weight they forgot they were carrying. It's been a year now. The papers have long since been finalized. Her name's no longer on the mailbox. I drive past the old house sometimes. Not to reminisce, just to prove to myself I don't feel anything anymore. And I don't. It's just wood inciting in pain. I still have the bracelet. It sits in the top drawer of my nightstand. Not out of sentiment, but as a reminder of the moment everything shifted. The day I stopped living someone else's story and started writing my own. I've reconnected with friends I let drift. Started hiking again. Joined a community book club, yeah, me in a circle with strangers arguing over Hemingway and memoirs. It's peaceful in a way I never expected. And I met someone. Not the way you'd think. Not through an app or a setup. Just a passing conversation at the dog park that turned into coffee and then a few more. Her name is Elise. She laughs at my dry jokes. She's been through her own kind of storm. And we don't pretend to be something perfect. We just show up. That's enough for now. I don't tell Elise everything. Not yet. But I will. When the time is right. Because the thing I've learned? You don't have to carry it all to be whole. You just have to know what to let go of. I let go of the hurt. I let go of the betrayal. And most of all, I let go of the version of myself who thought love meant staying no matter what. Now I know better. Now I know myself. And finally, that's enough.